Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. Today's episode, I am joined by Robert Boyd Jr. He's the middle school dean of culture and behavior at St. Marcus School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's the author of God, Where Are You? Trust the Process, and the founder of Bros, Brothers Rising Over Our Streets. Together, we're going to unpack Brother Boyd's personal journey of questioning God, his testimony of trusting the process, and how faith has shaped his work with youth and families. You all are going to gain some practical tools to cultivate resilience, discipline, and legacy, both in your personal walk with God and in the raising of the next generation. All right. Well, welcome, Rob. What you want me to call you today? I already nicknamed you RBJ, but I don't know if that's a thing.
So there's only one other person called me RBJ, but they call it RBJ too because I'm a junior. So that's
See, now you say that, now I'll call you Deuce, right? Like I'll just like pop out names. But what do you
yeah.
what do you prefer to be referred to?
Uh, I get a ton of different names. Whatever you comfortable call me, because I get different names depending on who I'm talking to. So whatever circle I'm
Yeah,
in, then that's what I
uh-huh.
normally used to hear.
I
I
heard
hear
you was 50
Boyd,
back in the
Rob,
day.
Robert, Coach Boyd. I get all of that. I don't
Did you
get
hear me?
50 too much.
I said back in the day, I heard you used to go by 50.
And the crazy part is I don't get it too much except for in my household. My wife told me, "I knew you was 50, you gonna always be 50."
All right. She said, I'm at 50. I'm married
That's
50.
what she
You
said.
50.
I fell in
Okay.
love with 50.
Oh, I love that. All right. So, what was your God, where were you moment, and how did it shape your decision to write your book, Trust the Process?
I think that moment probably was the same moment as a few of us then probably had, and it was during the pandemic.
Okay.
The pandemic was a different time, I think, in all of our lives where we didn't have a choice but to actually get to know ourselves better. You didn't have no outlet where you can go when the city is shut down, everything is closed, and you can't really be outside. You don't get a chance but to know yourself and everyone that surrounds you a little bit more better. And God spoke to me so clear about
Hmm.
writing this book. Um,
Okay.
and when it started, I was just like, God, I don't want to write this book. People told me for a long time, your story is your life is a story that everybody needs to read. But I never wanted to do it. I was so afraid of doing it because if I decided to take that leap of faith and write this book, then I had to relive everything that I tried to forget about so long ago.
Oh my gosh. There's so many layers in that. Like, and what a lot of people do. And just because like, okay, you lived it, it's still in there. Had you had an opportunity to process it?
That was actually the book was actually my therapy. Coming from
Yes.
everything I came from, I not once had a therapist, I not once had counseling, but writing that book was 100% therapy and healing all in one big old ball.
Okay. So RBJ, take us back. What's your story?
So, going back to as small as a kid, growing up in Chicago, Illinois, on the west side, shout out to the west side, West End and Pine. So,
It's
but
it's that's a whole thing.
But I was just a kid, two older sisters. My mother's only son, my daddy's little boy. Just growing up, taking trips back and forth to Milwaukee over the summer. Me and my sisters to come up to Milwaukee over the summer to go with some of my cousins on my mother's side, and it just was one day where we was here one summer in the midst of 1988 when we got a phone call. And that phone call, we didn't know was going to change all our lives forever.
Yeah.
So the phone call, which came about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, which led my auntie into going off into a private room. And you could just hear the groans and the cries. And at that time I was only about 5 years old, but I didn't know what was going on. But when she walked out that door and she looked at us and she just told us that my sister first question was, "What happened to my mama?" Because she was older at that time. So if I was
Okay.
5, my sister had to be about 9, and she said, "What happened to our mama?" And my auntie just shook her head and started crying. And when my sisters broke down, I didn't fully understand what was going on, but I knew that they was hurting. So they was hurting, which made me hurt. So I felt their pain. And then I started to realize we wasn't going back to Chicago. So in that moment, my auntie pretty much told us this is what's gonna be the game plan. But my daddy was saying that, you know what? I know that you want to keep them together. However, I want to take my boy with me. So I moved back to Chicago without my two sisters with my dad. And the following year, uh, I was in Milwaukee with my sisters when I was told that my daddy had just passed away. So now it's a kid who now starting to understand life and death a little bit more, which is the reason why a lot of the title of my book came from because I was to the point where I hated God. I didn't know who this evil God that everybody said was this God of love, but yet he would do this to a 5 and a 6 year old. How can you be a God of love but take away my entire foundation? And then I thought it was me. What did I do to deserve this, to be that young? Going a little further, trying to get my mind together and wrap it around that mom and daddy ain't never coming home. Few years later, I wake up to everyone in the living room watching television. And when I'm trying to figure out what everybody is watching on the news, all I see is a 13-year-old shot and killed to death. And the name that read up under it was Danielle Linton, which is my sister. So
Goodness.
it was the process of healing, trying to heal, and so I was angry. I walked around and I carried a whole lot of anger. I didn't know how to control my emotions like I do now, talking about redirecting, trying to emotional intelligence, all those things I didn't never have training on. So I had to figure it out on my own. And trying to figure it out, I just stuffed things away. I just kept stuffing them down. I was to the point where I didn't want nobody to see my emotions. I didn't want you to feel my emotions. But it was certain instances in the book that you'll read about where all of that will come out and it'll
Yeah,
come out at the wrong time.
always. Wow. So you lost your mom, your dad, then an older sister.
Yes.
Wow. Like summer 88 was a pivotal summer for me. So I resonate with like things just changing in the blink of an eye. And for a 5-year-old to have to try to process this and fathom this and get with the program, these big changes. And then it's maybe as soon as you're starting to settle in, like you said, you were your daddy's, how did you say your daddy's baby? How'd you put it?
I was his boy. I was his
Yeah, my
baby boy.
daddy's boy, yep, my
Yeah.
daddy's baby boy. So I could hear the affection and fondness just in the way that you said it. And so you had that, right? And we're adjusting to that, and then he's gone. Did anybody talk to you or your siblings or say, let's put them in therapy or at least talk to like the school counselor when you experienced all of these things?
So if I never remember actually seeing a counselor or a therapist, but believe it or not, if those things were said, I have no recollection of them. Like people would be like, "Hey, I remember my second grade teacher. I remember the school I went to." When I say I wanted to forget everything of that trauma that happened in my life, it's crazy because when you want to forget, you just gonna forget. So I forgot all of those years. I can't tell you what my third, fourth grade teacher name was. I can't tell you what school I went to until I started doing research as I was older. But just to sit there and think about those memories, it's certain times though It's certain smells, it's certain things I see, certain sounds I hear, which will bring some of them back. But just to sit there and try to go down memory lane, that was the hardest part about writing this book because I had to think so hard and I had to go deep down inside my inner feelings to try to let go of all of this pain and want to forget it, to actually want to remember some of the good times and some of the things and the ways I felt. Because when I had the shouts out to Elizabeth Luckett who helped me, like without her, I don't know if this book could be possible because I
Yeah.
could never just sit there and physically write it out. She had me doing different assignments where I had to write down pieces. I record myself talking, and she actually was the brains behind putting it all on the paper. But I could have never just sat there and wrote out a book like that myself. It was too
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, that's a lot to have to relive things. And like you said, this was deeply traumatic, and our brains are designed to protect us. You were 5 years old and you learned that your mother was gone. And you didn't mention how either of your parents passed away. Is that something you're comfortable sharing?
But yeah, it was in the book. So my mother was actually stabbed to death on the city bus. It was a situation where her and another young lady was actually dating the same fella. And when my mother got there, she seen it, and my mother walked away. My
Yeah.
mother, my mother was walking away.
And the woman,
She followed her on the bus, and she stabbed her 23 times.
I'm so sorry. I'm at a loss for words for that. And I can understand why you would be so angry. And what I also know about spirits,
Yes,
that wasn't God and that lady that came and attacked your mother. Your mother walked away.
she walked away.
She walked away. Her and her peace walked away. Two people had made a choice. She found out, she walked away. I'm having a hard time hearing that, so I can only imagine what a 5-year-old would do. And I would imagine like there's still healing that could still be possible even after like writing the book, but just, you know, and processing that on many layers.
It's gonna be a continuous healing process. Like people tell me all the time, I don't understand how you so a delight to be around. You always cheerful. You always, I wouldn't be able to live life the way you did. And I tell them my answer is I just don't think about them. And I said, I know that might sound foul and wrong. I love my parents to death, but I will sit there and turn myself into an early grave if I constantly sat there and thought about it every single day. So I just
Yeah.
don't think about it.
Or the other part is focus on the good memories too,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't have to focus on them. Like you obviously know that they're not there. And it's a choice. And it's one of those things that it can consume you if that's what you focus on. And you focusing on it doesn't bring them back. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't. Um, and your father, how did he pass away?
So my father, I never really asked about my father all my life, but I just knew that I was always told, or I always heard. No one just set me down. See, and that's another thing where the healing really couldn't really start to take place because I never knew exactly how my father passed away. I knew how my mother passed away. I knew the story forever, but I was
Yeah.
told that my father was drugged, right? So in my mind, as a kid, when you think of someone being drugged, you think of somebody having a drink and somebody putting drugs in a drink and they drinking it. So all the years of my life, through college and everything, when I was in the, out here in the world partying, I was always that person where if I set a drink down and I walked away from it, I need a new one. And I taught that to everybody that I knew. I need a new one. Even with my kids nowadays, if you said a soda, whatever it is, and you leave it, that is the company's, that is the community's now. That's not yours anymore. You need to get you another one.
Yeah.
And that's what I had in my mind for so many years that he was drugged. But as I started to write my book and film my documentary, just asking different questions. And honestly, still to this day, I'm still getting mixed answers, but it all boiled down to they found my father with a needle in his arm. So OD, whether that came from him himself or someone else putting it there, that's the end result of what I keep being told. I never, and like I said, you only leave it to my imagination because no one ever said, "Well, Jr., come here, let me tell you how your father actually transitioned." And I never wanted to ask about it because I didn't want to know. But as a child growing up, getting older, you start to want to know some of these things, and I still haven't got a clear cut answer on the exact reason for my father's passing, besides the fact of him having a needle stuck in his arm.
Yeah, there's so much that could surround that, the context. Like who was he with, where and when, and
Yes,
during
yeah.
that era, they didn't care as much about the
No, it
context,
wasn't it
the
wasn't a
story.
it wasn't a it was big. It was a big epidemic with all of that, with the drug use and all that, and it was like it was that was recreational, like, smoking weed nowadays. That's how that was in that era.
Exactly. So it was just like, okay, just another
Yeah,
overdose, just another
yeah.
overdose. Yeah, understood. Yeah, my family, my parents both struggled with substance. My mother, she's been I gotta call my mama. It just dawned on me that she made it to 4 years clean.
Wow.
Yep, she just it
September.
just yeah, well, really August, so I'm a couple weeks late. Yep, so I owe her a call about that
Yeah, you gotta
specifically.
celebrate. You gotta
Yeah,
celebrate
thank you.
those
Thank you
milestones.
for reminding me of that. There's, so much stuff going on. So I owe her a call. Um, I get it. I get it. I get it in that some of that in that respect. But yeah, it became so casual, so social. And that was how she, got wrapped up in it from what I understand. Wow. Okay. So you go through all of this. What does so I want to lay the groundwork, right, before we get
Okay,
into all the other things so that people can go on the journey with you. So
okay.
then this anger, you take this with you into high school, but you still go to college.
Yes.
Talk me through that. How you decided to go to college and what you majored in, some of those things, and just like what your experience was.
So a lot of my life was ups and downs. It was to the point where I was introduced to Christ at an early age by my auntie Joanna Linton when I came to Milwaukee. So I knew exactly who God was. I knew the wonders that He can work, the miracles, the healing, and all that. But it didn't feel like I was getting a part in any of that. It felt like maybe I don't know Him the way I thought I knew Him, but then life would start to move and it started to feel better. That, like I said, I started to heal from my parents, and then you get the tragedy with my sister, which was a
Yeah.
tragedy that it wasn't even for her. She was actually trying to save one of her friends whose uncle was molesting her, and he shot her in the chest with a shotgun. And still to
Grown
this
man
day,
shot a child with a
13.
shotgun. 13.
The newspaper article reads Danielle Linton died as a hero because she got her friend out of the house, but then he
Yeah.
pulled a gun and shot this little girl in the chest off the porch and in the front yard. So when the police arrived, my sister wasn't dead on sight, but she died at the scene because they couldn't approach the body because he wouldn't put the gun down.
Wow. You know, I am a believer, and it's hard to reconcile sometimes that the earlier and the greater, more intense the trauma, the greater the calling, because the enemy is working overtime. He's sending his best to,
Yeah, you preaching. You preaching. And
for
I know
real.
we're gonna at some point get into it, but that's where you got to trust the process on
Yeah.
my book.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, because I'm like, the way he was just coming for your family,
Yeah.
for you. and whomever else, right? Because everyone's experiencing this and in different ways.
Yes.
Okay, so you're introduced to Christ at an early age. In spite of all of this, you're able to get into college. You go to college. What'd you major in?
Physical education
Okay,
with a minor in coaching.
okay, okay. How'd you land there?
So here's the thing about college. College wasn't on my radar at all. I just wanted to get out of high school. I was the type of person where I didn't want to be at school. I didn't, but I knew I needed school. I knew I needed high school. I didn't want to go to college. It was two reasons to send me to college. One is my mother, which is not my godmother, but my God sent mother. That's what I call her. She was definitely God
Okay,
sent.
I
Uh,
love that.
and she wanted me to go to college and I could continue to play football. Football was my release. So when I
Uh-huh.
found football, when they say leave it all on the field, when I say I left it everything I had on the field, and I was so angry on the field and people knew it. Like it was to the point where they had to coach had to pull me out some games because I couldn't slow down. And he was just like, "You need to breathe, son." But that was my only release, where I knew I could
Yeah.
just hit hard, get frustration out, and not be in trouble for it.
And we didn't have rage rooms back in the day for that.
No, no, it was the football field. I put that helmet
Exactly.
on, and whoever was in front of me was definitely my rage room. It was nothing personal to that person or that young man, but he felt every piece of the pain I felt since I was 5 years old. Whoever that was on any given night.
Yeah. So they knew. Okay. So we kept playing football. We get through college. What's your first job?
So we don't fully get through college.
Oh, come on, fill in the
It
gaps.
was it was another moment to the point where this is where it was to the point where I was over the top with, you know what? I'm done trying. So I'm in college doing well and I tear my ACL. So now it's to the point where if it's not one thing, it's another thing. And now the thing I love so much that gives me the chance to release, get my mind together, that's snatched away from me. In my mind, here's another thing that this God that we serve then took away from me. So 3 years into college, I actually dropped out and I fell into a stage of depression.
Any
Fell
major
into a
injury
state.
like that will do it, but then also your connection and what this was for you. Yeah, I can see that.
So I went into a stage of depression, and at that point, I went into partying. When I say partying, I was partying, and it was to the point where I uh I was so angry and I was so deeply hurt where I didn't want to sit still because if I sat still, then I had to feel. I didn't want to feel no more.
Yeah,
So I was getting drunk. I was getting high. Different houses every night. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to be in a space where I had to sit still. So I just moved. I was here, I was there, and then I get right up in the morning and I start all over again because I didn't want to feel. And but I was
how?
it was so dangerous because in that state, I didn't really care whether I lived or died. And if you was in front of me, I didn't really care if you lived or died either if it came between one of us having to go that day. So I
Yeah.
was probably the scariest thing walking at this time. Dreadlocks to my back, gold teeth. I was out of control.
Have a visual. I can see it. I can
Yeah.
see it. Okay. 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 Different person.
Completely did. And that's when it turned into every so 50 came from high school playing basketball. I was calling myself Big 50. So like, you got like the Big Ten conference and all that. So I do a layup or something and I holler out Big 50 instead of Big Ten, right? So they just
Yeah.
start calling me Big 50. Big 50, that carried on to college to 50. But then when I left college, I had this image of myself. I wasn't this Big 50 no more. I was 50 the boss. I'm in charge. I'm making my own rules. And I used to always put a hashtag out there, uh more. I make my own rules. And that's what I was living off of. My hashtag always said more, and it stood for I make my own rules. And that's the life that I was living.
There's so much in there, but you're okay. Well, I'm hearing a theme. God is stripping away things and people to get your attention, and you think it's punishment.
Yes.
When he's really saying, focus on me.
I'm building you up for your greater purpose. I didn't understand that part in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And even the I'm more, that shows your creativity, like your depth, your intelligence, even though you weren't using it for good at that
Yeah,
time.
I was absolutely not.
Because you had influence, Big 50. Uh,
Yes,
you had influence and obviously could connect with people, and I think that's something that sometimes people can forget because you're so disconnected from yourself and you just doing whatever with like you just out here, right?
yes.
Okay. So, how do we end up at St. Marcus?
Ooh. So
Or is
St.
that too
Marcus,
big of a jump?
well, it's not. It depends on how you want to go.
Well,
St.
this
Marcus.
your story.
So, well, going into St. Well, let's back up a little bit
Okay.
because we got to go into the book, which let me know exactly what my purpose was. So, my first chapter in the book, and what's really crazy, I told my wife that I haven't called Bishop yet, but I was at service this morning,
Yeah.
and when I wrote my book out of the topic is God, where were you? And then it was trust the process. But when I became the youth president over at Holy Cathedral, Church
Okay.
of God in Christ, I started to understand my purpose with the youth. And then it was when I became a minister. And then to start at 35, I started realizing everything that God has sent me through was to build me up for this moment. And I knew it was trust the process. So I ran into the scripture in Galatians where it said, "You will reap if you faint not." So I read that entire, and that was my scripture for my message. But what's crazy with the moment when you come into God's, when I say when He give you clarity,
Yeah.
Bishop this morning, and me, you're supposed to do this interview Friday, but you got ill. And then remember, I booked the date, but that date didn't
Yep.
work because the timer didn't work. But
Yep.
now we doing it today. But this
Yeah.
morning at 8 o'clock service, Bishop read those same three scriptures, and his topic was "Don't give up now." And in the midst of him preaching, he was preaching out trust the process, and then in my topic I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. And he kept
Right.
saying it all through his message. And I'm like, wow, this is what we finna talk about this evening. And this is the first chapter in my book. Is that entire sermon that I preached that day because I knew at that moment God built me up to be able to tell my story to so many
Yes.
people and encourage them. So when I'm with these young men and they're telling me, "You don't understand, Coach Boyd, I lost my mother. You don't understand, Coach Boyd, I lost my father. You don't understand, Coach Boyd, I lost a sibling. You don't understand, Coach Boyd, I've been homeless. I haven't had stuff to eat." And I look at that young man in his face and say, "I absolutely understand all of that.
Been through
I
all of
can't say
that.
I feel the way you feel, but I understand everything you're saying right now." And
Ooh,
this is
say that
how I got
again.
over.
I can't say that I feel how you feel and I understand because that's the part. Like
Yes,
that people no one understands, nobody gets it. And you're like, no, I get it, but I might not feel the way that you feel, or it didn't feel that same way
absolutely.
to me. Yeah, that validation is crucial.
Yes,
So you got all this confirmation.
this morning.
Yeah.
This morning was and when I preached that message, I knew where I was at. I knew what my purpose was because at that time is when I started trying to figure out. I told my wife, I said, I need to do something for the youth of the city. I said, our youth are so lost right now. I need to figure out something to do for the youth in our city. And I said, I want to start an organization. And I said, but I want it to be only for young men. I need
Yeah.
them to be able to be, I need to be a big brother, a mentor, someone where they can give them the game before they go down the road that I went down and I had to figure it out for myself. We need those type of outlets. And I said, this is what I
Yeah.
want to do. And she said, well, what you, and so I'm praying about it. I'm thinking about it. And bro came to me because we know right now in the generation that we're looking at, everybody is bro, whether that's their friend, they guy friend, their girlfriend, their sister, that everybody is a
Bro.
bro.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take that because that's the language y'all speak. So I said, God, you got to give me an acronym for this. And I always good at acronyms, making the title. Like when it came to our music, title on the song. Called, I used to be a party promoter, letting you know what the promotion was, the drinks. But that's just what I do. That's a gift that I have. And I was always
Again,
taught
that
the gift that you
creativity.
have, yeah, the gift that you have in this world, God to take that and use it in his kingdom. So I'm using it and I'm
Yes.
like, God, so, and it was for a long time, it was the BROS. And it was, I used to say it was going to be brothers rising over streets. And that was broad. That means the brothers that rise over streets. That's cool. But I said, it got to be personal. It got to touch them personal. So that's when you look at the bros now. If you look at the O, it's actually an
I
O on the
see it.
inside.
Yeah.
It's the O on the inside. So now you got two acronyms right there. And I turned it into Brothers Rising Over Our Streets. Cause now it's personal. Now it's my street. I gotta rise over my
Yeah.
street, my situation,
Ownership.
my circumstances. And I tell a young man, we can't try to change everything around us with the outside O until we change the inside O, which is with
Come
us.
on.
We got to
You sound
start on the inside before we can change everything on the outside.
you're sounding
And that's
like a
the
social
inside
worker
O.
a little bit. Okay. Come on. Look at this person and environment perspective I'm hearing coming up out of you. Okay. I love that. Ourselves, and then it goes outward into our community. I love this.
Yes.
This is so good. So I want to go back a little bit. So how did you transition from coming up out of the streets to becoming a minister?
That's a good question. I was terrified. When I
Oh, I'm
knew
sure.
I was terrified, so I always made sure I was at church. Like my wife would tell you, I don't matter what I was doing that night on Saturday, I was in church the next day.
Huh.
I was in church because I never wanted to sit still. So Sunday was church. So when I went out that night and I stayed out all night, then I got up and I went to church. So it was to the point where I always heard the word, and it was to the point where Bishop and the pastor, shouts out to Pastor Steve and Tipton, it used to just feel as though they was just talking to me every Sunday I walked up in that church. And I'm sitting way in the back minding my own business, got
So
my
you
dreads,
thought.
my gold teeth. And so I thought, it was a couple of times where I actually just got up and then I left because I'm like, I ain't gotta listen to this, right? So then but then it started to convict me. And then it was to the point where it was like, I wanna do better. I wanna do better. I wanna do something different. This is what I wanna do with my life. And I started wanting to change. So that you can't nobody
Yeah.
can change because you tell them to. You gotta wanna change for yourself. I can sit there and give you all of the things and tell you all of the stuff, but until you want it for yourself, I can everything I'm saying is in one ear and out the other because you don't want to change. So I wanted to change. So I wanted that change. And then I had my first daughter. I had my first daughter, which is Gina Monet Boyd. She was born May 5th, 2009. And when my daughter came out head first looking up. He looked me right in my face.
Yeah.
And when I say I crumbled like a cookie in that hospital room, I fully tore apart into my mother-in-law arm. Like I literally broke down and I understood now. You're not living this life just for yourself no more.
Yep.
Somebody needs you.
Yeah.
And I was
Now you
done.
got a purpose.
I had a purpose. I was that purpose right there. And in my book, if you look at it, if you so I dedicated my book to all of to my wife and all of my kids. And my book, I dedicated it to my first child that said, "You saved my life," because she
Yeah.
gave me my purpose.
How old is she now?
She just turned 16 in May. Yeah, she just turned 16 in May.
See, that's a critical
You know, I got a
age.
different purpose in life with her because
And so, like, is purpose well, let's see, because we say it gives you a purpose, but it's not the purpose, right?
Mhm.
So she saved you.
She gave me a purpose to wanna live.
There we go. She
That
gave you
was
a
the
reason to
purpose she
live.
gave me, and I
Yeah.
still didn't understand what my purpose was, but she gave me a purpose to actually want to live, to want to change my life, to want to be because I didn't care what was going on in the streets. If it happened, it happened. But I needed now someone needed me, so I had to change my lifestyle because I couldn't just do and go the way things that I was doing because I wanted to come home at night to my daughter.
And also, 5-year-old, you know what it's like to not have your parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
5-year-old me, 42-year-old me. And that's why when people start following us on social media, the life that my kids live is the life that I feel as though every kid should live because I didn't have any of that. So when people be like, y'all was did this, did so my kids probably got more states on on their name right now than the years they've been born
Yeah.
because I just believe in memories. I create the memories because memories will last forever.
That, like, now you're reparenting yourself.
Yes.
You're healing
Yes.
yourself by giving
Yes.
yourself all of the things that you wanted with your parents.
Yes.
That's God is so good. Like, for real, but some people, they get stuck that it's not how they want it to be or the way that
Yes.
they want it, that they can't appreciate and really see what he's done. And not only are, your daughter saved you, you're able to be present for her. All of these hardships, all of these just traumatic, awful things, you're able to now help save other people.
Yes.
Like, there's so many layers to that, and it just, makes me think about, like, um, Joseph in the Bible, right? Like, how
Mm.
all those awful things happened to him and,
By
getting
his brothers.
sold. Yup, sold into slavery by his brother. The woman lied on him. Now the king looking for him, trying to kill him. He ended up in prison.
Yes.
And then somehow he finds himself in favor with one of the pharaohs. And now he in the palace and the famine coming. He get to save everybody.
And he don't hold none of them grudges.
None of None of them. Like, but it's just amazing how those stories are, but at 5, we don't understand that complicated story to be
Nah,
like,
not at
"Oh,
all.
this is just a Joseph moment." Like,
Yeah.
and sometimes the adults in our life, they're hurting so deeply, they're struggling to find meaning in it, to reference it, to try
Mhm.
to break that down for
Yes.
a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old to understand. Because the Bible, it can be understood. We just gotta break it down based on, like, what's appropriate for age. Okay. Daughter's born in '09. When do you become the minister?
I became ordained minister in 2018.
Okay.
2018.
So we got
Oh
9
nine.
years.
Yep. So I was living my life, trying to do better, trying to end up getting married in 2011. So I was taking the right
Okay.
steps, wanting to do better. And so I just started just going frequently to church, going to church, going to church. But then it was a lot of voices telling me that I'm supposed to speak to God's people. And I didn't know what that was. I'm just like, absolutely not. No one's gonna take 50 serious. Not 50 the boss, not no preacher, 50 the boss. So I was just like, they're not gonna take me serious. So I think the first thing I did before I even told anybody or said anything to anybody, my name on Facebook for a long time was 50 the boss. I
Huh.
changed my name on Facebook to Robert Boyd.
Okay. Great
That was
start,
the
because this is
first
about
thing I ever
identity.
did.
This is an
Yes,
identity
that was the
thing.
yep. I did that was the first step I did, and then I spoke to my pastor who's a bishop, and I told him, I said, no, I told my wife first. I said, Marie, think God is telling me that I'm supposed to be preaching. I said, but I'm not no preacher. I said, "I'm not no preacher. I don't hoop and I don't do all of that." And then she's just like, "Well, he's probably just letting you know that he wants you to testify about the goodness of him
Come
to the
on.
people. You don't need to do all of that." And
Your
she
wife
always
is your
tell me,
favor.
"Just be yourself." She said, "Just be yourself." She said, "When you go every time she don't really do it too much anymore now, but when I go up there, she said, 50, just be yourself." You said Bishop appointed you where you at right now because of who you are, your originality, and you being you. Don't try to go up there and sound or look like nobody else. He put you where you at because of you. So just go up there and be yourself. And that's what I started doing. And I talked to Bishop and I told him, no, matter of fact, I didn't talk to Bishop yet. I was still nervous. The only person I told was my wife. So I'm just sitting there still
Yeah.
sitting on it. But then there was a guy. It was a younger guy. He went up there and he didn't do nothing but go up there and pray. But when I say it was the coolest, most clear prayer I ever heard in my life, and it just sounds so genuine. He was so swaggy about it. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. And
Can
I'm
do
like,
that.
so now I identify with these preachers because it was one who sound and looked like I would probably go up there and sound. I
Yeah.
said, he is, and I told my wife, I said, "Rudy, the guy prayed at church today." I'm like, I said, I was so excited. So then at this point, I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. But then I'm still in the back of my mind, like, nobody's gonna take me serious. But then I told myself, I gotta stop worrying about what everybody else gonna think and just
Yes.
do what God is calling me to do.
Yes,
So
because he'll take care of it.
I spoke to Bishop about 2015. The 15 I spoke to him. And he was like, "Well, first thing I would say is continue to stay in prayer about it." Me and my wife went and talked. We said, "Stay in prayer about it. This is what God calling you to do." He said, "Then we'll give me some time, we'll work through it." And then he said, "But first thing I want you to do is go to the school, Bishop Adultus Allen School of Ministry." So okay, cool. I said, "But Bishop, this was the," I said, "I want to do it, but I think we also thinking about moving to Arizona."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, um, we can't go to that school. We ain't supposed to be leaving." So I'm like, "Well, yes, that's all I really know." So here's the thing. Towards the end of 2015, my heart was set. We moved to Arizona. My wife, we was looking for opportunities. What we thought the opportunities over there. The market is bigger for our jobs. I'm finna start this organization. Like we finna go over there. We finna thrive. That's what we finna do, right?
Yeah.
I go over there. We can't get a house. Nobody's calling us back for a house. I was a manager at the trash company for years, and I was willing to take a step back and actually get back on the trash truck and run routes. I'm telling them I'll take a step down. No one hired me at no trash company over there. I didn't have a bad reputation. Nothing was happening
It
at
was as
all.
dry as the air in Arizona.
It was just dry as there in Arizona. So I told, and then what was real crazy is we never re-signed our lease on our loft down at Park East Loft. We never re-signed it. We tried to go through all this stuff. We literally had one day, and we called this lady and said, "Hey, we wanted to know, did you rent out our apartment yet?" And she said, "No, somebody wanted to come and view it, but it haven't been rented out yet. Do you guys want to stay?" And we said, "Yes." We didn't, like, literally, if we would have been a day later, we wouldn't even had nowhere to stay. We'd have been moving our stuff out, trying to figure it out.
That's how
So I'm
God
like,
works.
God is not trying to. I said, "There's work to be done in Milwaukee right now," and God is telling me this before we leave. And that same year, I went into that school of ministry. I graduated from that school of ministry, and that same year, we got on that altar. Well, it was before this. But a while before that, we got on the altar and we prayed because I always wanted a son. At this point, I got two daughters in. I'm like, in my mind, my mind playing tricks on me. I'm like, I said, I hope God ain't just trying to get me back from how I was out here in these streets. That's why He giving me all these girls. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm keeping it real. I just hope He ain't trying to get me back from how I used to be out here in these streets. So me and my wife go to the altar and we ask God for a son. And we
Mhm.
just lay out on the altar. But we didn't know we had a son. We had a gender reveal May of 2016. When I say that gender reveal came with blue balloons, confetti all over the place, and I'm like, God is so. They tell us 20. They was like, y'all in y'all season right now, like literally. I go through ministry school, I become a minister. We got my son, we get approved for this house out in the Commonwealth. I got a new position at this job. Now I'm on a different, it was just everything was just happening. I'm just like, okay, God, okay. I said, well, I see what you're doing. So I'm just like, still, I got to start digging back into this organization. Now I got to start getting back focused. And my friend, shout out to James Hayes. You know James Hayes. He
Yeah.
was creating my logo for about a year and a half. And I know I was working his last nerve because every time he'd send it to me, I say, bro, that's cool, but that ain't it.
Yeah.
I'm like, switch this, switch that, switch that. He'll send it back. I can't tell you how many emails. If we went to that email thread, and me, I'm going back for about a year and a half. I said, bro, it gotta say everything without saying nothing at all. It have to.
That's hard. That's hard. Yeah.
And with my logo is a young man looking in a mirror of an image of himself, but he has on the hoodie, the jeans, and in the mirror he has on a full black tie suit with a bow
Yeah.
tie, and he looked like he's stepping off a business. And I said, "That's what I get." That's why I said, "That's it right there." I said because my vision statement is because your reality doesn't have to be someone else's perception. So what you
Yeah.
see in the mirror is what you get, not what everybody else see. They see you in this hoodie and these jeans, they see a thug, but you actually out here in a three-piece suit about to go land a business proposal. So what you see is what you get. And when he gave me that, I said, bro, that's it. He said, I hope so, because I'm tired of you.
Sick of you. That
And
is
I said, nah,
so
bro. I said, this
good.
is it. I said, this is it. And I was so excited. So now the logo done. At that point, I'm still talking about it. So I had to call him back one last time because I
Yeah.
said, bro, I need you to make another O. I said, because I want to change it. I want it to be Brothers Rising Over Streets no more. I need to be Brothers Rising Over our street. He said, man, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you. I said, all right, give me. I, s- I said, okay, I got you. I said, just give me that one, and then we'll be good. And I said, now you got to change the lettering, and then make one. Matter of fact, now he had all of it the same color, all of it the same color. I said, yeah, that's it. I said, one last thing. Change the color in the over because they got to represent two different O's. And he was like, he didn't even respond. He didn't respond. I just got an email of it
He just
changed.
did it.
So
Oh,
he just sent
man.
me an email of it changed because he was sick of it.
Oh, that's so I can only imagine y'all went back and forth with this for this long. Yeah, he was
Yes.
beyond sick. That had to be your boy for
No, it
him
was.
to,
Yeah,
like,
shouts out to
do all
Jay
of
Hay.
this.
That's
Because
my
some people
man.
would have been like, "It's time for you to find a different I'm convinced I'm not who you need." Like,
I'm not who you are, or you're gonna have to continue. You gotta have to put something down, and then I recreate it.
yeah,
None of that. I just was working his nerves for about a year and a half.
my goodness. But that was that's how that's man. That's funny, but like that's how it works, like with God and how things work. So there's so much in there. One, you changing your name from 50 the Boss to Robert Boyd Jr.
Yeah.
It occurred to me you created 50 in whatever iteration of 50 because you needed 50.
Yeah, I needed
You
that's who
needed
I needed
50.
some type of a mask. I needed something that
Yes.
how I was feeling. So I want you to feel as though I was good and I wasn't.
Yes. So you needed 50. And then once God started to show up in you, you didn't need 50 because you had
No,
God.
not at all. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I'm hearing it's a baby 50 out here. You got your
Yeah,
son.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Robert
Yeah.
Boyd the third.
Yes. And how old is he?
He just turned 9 in July.
Oh, love that. Love that. And then also, you really started obeying. You got into alignment, but well, part of it, right? Like you were still figuring it out because in your heart, you thought it was Arizona. It was real dry out
Yeah.
there. It was not happening. And God was like, go ahead. But that's not what I
Mhm.
want for you because you got free will. So
Yeah.
he gets y'all back in Milwaukee. Y'all are able to stay in the same place. Excuse me. And then everything starts happening. Like people don't really understand that, like when you get into alignment with God and when you obey, he just starts doing things. Like and you see it. How did you avoid sabotaging any of this after all that you went through, right? Because some people, they're so used to all of those unfortunate things happening, the ups and downs, that they get scared when up is up.
See, I and that was me for a little bit because I
Okay.
used to always sit there and pray, God, why me? Why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Why is this happening to me? And then when it started happening to me, I caught myself and I had to sit there and check myself because I was asking, God, why me? Why you doing all this good stuff? Why not you? Is what he told me.
Yeah.
Why not you? And it was to the point where he got me together real quick and I said, you right. I deserved it because I was in a lifestyle where I felt like I was never going to accomplish or get nothing in life because everything that was good was taken away from me. So I had my guards up for a long time that
Yeah.
I don't want to get too comfortable because I might lose this, I might lose this person, or this might only be for a moment because that's just the way my life is set up right now. That's just me.
I'm going to therapize that for a second. Sounds like anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of this stuff we didn't realize we was carrying until the pandemic.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. A lot of stuff. A lot of people didn't make it through the pandemic.
Mhm.
A lot of things happened in households and in the pandemic for sure. Wow. Wow. God is just moving. Okay.
See, and one thing I tell people, I didn't want to be going through the pandemic just like everybody else, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that the pandemic was probably one of the best seasons of my life.
Huh? Say more.
The
Say more.
pandemic is when the pandemic is when birth fully so God it's to the point where I was supposed to get bros off the ground and I'm constantly I ain't got time for it. I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. So I feel as though God told me, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just shut everything down around you so you don't have to do that no more. Now do what I'm calling you to do. And that's all I had
Yeah.
time to do. I
Yeah.
started revamping Bros, writing my book, and filming my documentary all at the same
Yeah.
time in
Yeah.
the midst of the beginning of the pandemic through the end of the pandemic.
And drop the
And
name of your documentary real quick too, and where people can
my
find it.
name of my documentary is "The Pain Behind My Smile"
Okay. Y'all heard that.
because
And
it
where
was
can
the
they
math.
find it?
They can find that on YouTube at a tribe called Boy, a tribe
Okay.
called Boy on YouTube.
Okay.
And a lot of it and that name came from all of the masks that we was wearing because of the pandemic, and I realized I was wearing a mask for a long time, and I finally had to take it off.
I'm hearing you. And then my mind is going deeper because, of course, when you say a tribe called Boyd, I think a tribe called Quest. But when you say
That's
the
what we got it
masks, right. But then with the masks, I'm just thinking about the different tribal masks and how,
Yes,
in the different cultures, they have masks for different things, different ceremonies. They represent this and that. See, the creativity that you have, I love it. Go ahead. So, a tribe called Boy is showing up in the pandemic. Everybody's wearing masks.
and so, um, before everything was shut down, in my mind, I'm already Bros is pretty much set, ready to go. I had some meetings, I talked to a few people, and I'm ready to launch it.
Yeah.
I set a date. I started doing registrations. People started to sign up. My open registration was going to be November 2020. So at that point, you know what's happening at that point. Everything shut down and you had the social distance. So how do you create a whole organization where you want to give young men in the same room with each other to pour into each other, and now y'all can't even gather,
And
and
this
then
is
it got to be 6 feet
November.
apart?
Right, and this is
2020.
November in
Yes.
the Midwest, so it's cold.
Yeah, and it's cold.
Yeah.
I'm like, she was like, I said, I don't know if this is gonna work. She was like, well, I mean, you just gotta social distance, they gotta have on masks, you gotta have all these protocols. So I'm just like, I prayed and I said, God, I didn't want I said, "All I want is 10 young men every session. I just want 10 young men. If you can
Okay.
send me 10 young men every session, send me 10 young men because I don't want them to turn into a number." So now when I do schools and stuff, it's smaller, intimate sections and it's more sessions. So I got larger classes because they're already in the class. But when I do it in my own setting in the community, I don't take more than about 10 to 15 because I want it to be an intimate setting and I want them to know me and get to know them so they don't
Yeah.
just fall behind somewhere in the background and somebody doesn't get noticed. So I don't want it to turn into a number. I want to know them
Yeah.
individually. So
Yeah.
I'm like, God, send me 10 young men. I know we're in the midst of this pandemic. I know everybody's scared, everybody nervous, nobody knows what's going on. So I said, at this point, God, whatever you send me, I'll be grateful. So I showed up to that first session. Just in the midst of the pandemic, I sent out the communication like, hey, we're going to have hand sanitizer. Make sure you got on the mask. We will be 6 feet social distance, all this. So I'm like, ain't nobody fit to, and it's cold. Ain't nobody fit to bring
I
their
was gonna say,
people out
where'd you
here.
do it? Yeah.
It was in the basement in the garden level of Holy Cathedral, which shout out to my bishop, Bishop C.S. McClellan. When I ran it past him, it was a no-brainer. He said, "That's amazing." Set me up with an office at the Word of
Yeah.
Hope non-profit. He's just like, "You, this is needed right now." So he just took off with it, and he
Go.
said, "This is your office. Whatever you need, whether it's prints, this and that, Holy Cathedral and Word of Hope is going to sponsor it." I said, "Wow,
Look at the timing. You were trying to do bros before all of that. You needed to
yes,
really build that relationship with him
yes,
because he had access to the stuff, right? Like
yes,
the resources, right? Like,
yes."
wow.
So we get to that first session, and I'm just like, I don't know what this is gonna look like. And I prayed for 10. And I said, God, whatever you give me, I'll be happy with. And I every time I tell people this story, they just get real biblical on me and they go so deep.
What do
Instead
you
of
think? I
God,
know where you finna go.
instead of God sending me 10, God sent me 12 young men.
Okay. Okay. Come on, disciples. I thought she was about to say 20 and that he gave you
No, he,
double for your trouble. You know what I mean?
he sent me
But the
12.
12, oh, that's good.
He sent
That's
me
good.
12.
That's good.
And I'm like, wow. And it's just like, hey. So to get 12 in the midst of the pandemic, I know that this is a vision from God. This ain't just me, something I thought about that I'm carrying on right now. He gave me the access to what I needed. He gave me all of the supplies I needed. He sent the young men in for me to, you know what I'm saying, mentor. So I said, this is definitely a vision that God gave me. It's all said and
Yeah.
done. And we went off. November 2020 my first session was amazing.
Okay. So now that we're talking more about bros, like what chapter or story in your book from like what you've understood, like what part of that resonates most with the young men in your bros mentorship program? What do they tell you they identify with most?
So the one I would say is the most relevant for them is chapter 13, which is boys to men. So
Okay.
in the chapter is titled Boy to Man, and it was me talking about my life journey as a kid, but with big boy responsibilities. And when I
Yeah.
say big boy responsibilities, I'm talking to the point where I'm in middle school, but my day started off with me waking up, waking all of my other cousins up. Some of them was older than me to get ready for school. Then me getting myself together. Then me going to the front room to get my baby twins, which is 1 years old, get them bathed, dressed, and took to school, and then get on the bus and for me to go to school myself. After school, get on that bus, stop at their daycare, pick both of them up, and then walk them back to home after. And that was rain, sleet, or shine. And I was walking from 39th and Galena over to 27th and Walnut. So it
How
wasn't.
did you end up with those responsibilities?
And the crazy part about it, that's an amazing question. And to this day, I don't have a clue. And I tell people that no one told me that, JR, this is your responsibility. And I think that's the majority of my life. No one just identify what my responsibility is. I just go into them because I see the need is there. No one told me that was my job. I
Let me
just
find out you've been
started
moving
doing
in
it.
the spirit since you was a child.
I just started doing it. No one said
Yeah,
that was my job. And I wasn't the oldest in the house. And it wasn't my sisters. That was my
yeah,
cousins.
that's what I heard you say clearly.
And till this day, I don't know how it started. I just woke up one day and I was in the midst of it.
Yeah,
That was my routine. I get home from school, get them there, make sure that the homework was good, school closes out, and dinner was made. Because in my mind, my auntie was working 2 jobs and I didn't want to be a burden. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to take as much off of her plate as possible
okay,
because I know she's trying to provide for this entire household.
there
That's
it
how I
is.
seen it as a child.
Yeah, yeah, and isn't that, like, so I don't even know what word, but when you see as a child, you have that ability to, like, see the need. It's good in a sense, but it also speaks to, like, being a parentified child, like you said, you didn't get to just be a kid and not worry. You were doing all these other things. But it also shows that you had a different type of capacity, right? And maybe that also gave you purpose, a reason to wake up
Yes.
and build, like,
And I think
connection. Yeah.
and the biggest thing, so like even with my program and the bros, uh showing them that so I try to Google so many different ways on the age it is to become a man, and nothing gives you a solid number. There's no number on the age to be a man. I make sure I bring that up to my young men in my program. And I say, well, what makes you a man? And you are here 21 because that's the legal age. Are here 18 because then you at this age, you in college. Are here 25. And I'm like, so show me where it says that at, right? And what I let them know is you are a man when you fully understand your purpose. Not when you fully understand your purpose, but you understand responsibility, accountability, work ethics, and then experience. I said,
Ooh,
so when I
yeah.
tell y'all I'm a man now, and in my book I tell my daddy, Daddy, I'm a man now. And that was at the age of 12 because I was working a third shift job.
Hold on. That violates
Yeah.
child labor
Uh-huh.
laws. Help me
Uh-huh.
understand 12 third shifts. Help me understand.
It wasn't legit at all.
Couldn't have been.
Bayhome Bakery down in Glendale, Wisconsin. So all the way down Silver Spring, all the way past Bayshore Mall. It's a movie theater right there, and there was a bakery across the street. My uncle used to work there.
Okay.
On weekends, he had asked me if I wanted to help out. Absolutely, because I knew he was gonna give me a couple dollars. So
Yeah.
I go in with him, and then it was a guy that he was working with that was either always late or calling in. So that's why he used to ask me to come. So I was sitting there I was making the dough, I was making the glaze, I was frying the donuts. I knew everything about the donut industry at the age of 12. I'm in there cooking it up. I can
Wow.
make dough from scratch right now. I can do all make glaze from scratch, chocolate from scratch, all of this stuff, right?
Next time I come
Rolling
to
out croissants.
Milwaukee, I'm gonna need an order of croissants, okay?
Yeah. I took so my daughter is a chef, so I taught her how to make glazed
Uh,
croissants because those are amazing.
but do you see the seeds? He
Yeah,
put this in you, and then God gives you a chef, a daughter
yeah.
that's a chef. Okay, okay.
So what happened is my uncle literally pulled the manager to the side and said, "Hey, this man is not showing up. My nephew's always doing the work. He's here helping me out." He said, "So this is what I'll ask you to do. With his salary, you can cut that, pay me X amount of dollars, and pay my nephew this in cash. And I bring him
Uh-huh.
with me." And so he agreed to it. So as a 12-year-old, I'm making $500 a week. As a 12-year-old, $500 a week at the
Ooh,
bakery because I was going in Friday night and Saturday night. But then it's to the point where I started going in Sunday night and then I get off of work, take a shower, and then go to school.
As you said, you boy, work.
Yes, that work ethic.
Wow. This just gets more interesting by the moment. These are the this is and we're not even through the entire life, and nor can we get through that in one sitting. Obviously, they're gonna have to get the book, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I see why people are saying like this needs to be a movie. Like, well, I'm
yeah,
saying a movie now. They said it was something that need to be told. Now it's a movie because in my mind, I see a movie and God's
yeah,
not done. Like the end of it has not, it's still coming. Like,
yeah.
oh, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Like I'm just getting excited because I know how he does it. And like you just have to trust him to like really bring it into fruition because if God told you at I don't know, 11 or 12 that you were going to be like a minister, you'd been like, get out of here, God.
Nah, that wasn't my plan. I wanted to be a CEO of a music label, so I wasn't gonna be nobody's minister. I had different plans. I knew how I wanted my VIP room set up. I knew how I want.
Now, that might just be your green room in the church or or a space for the bros. That's the because those are your VIPs.
And if you see
Yeah.
my office, that's exactly what it is. I got a snack, I got a refrigerator, microwave, a snack thing. Like how I wanted that VIP room to be set up for shows, like our green room. That's how my office is set up.
Yep. So he gave you visions. You just needed the proper direction on where to
Yes.
aim that. Wow. So currently you're working at St. Marcus. So how do you or how does, if at all, your lived experiences, the work that you do with bros, like how does that um translate or transfer over to the work that you're doing with the middle schoolers at St. Marcus?
So first we gotta back up a little bit because I don't want nobody to get the wrong impression because
Okay.
I don't work at St. Marcus. I retired this past June. I retired from the workforce June 2025 at the age of 42. I don't work no more. What I do now is God have called me to operate in my gift and
Okay.
walk into my purpose.
Okay.
I walk in my purpose every day. I don't work no more. This is what I was designed to do. So when I go into St. Marcus, I'm actually walking in my purpose. I don't work no more.
Love that, Robert. That is so good because I tell people all the time, I work for the Lord. Like I work for God. Like
Yeah,
God is my boss. And the
yeah,
freedom that comes in that. And I'm like, I do a whole lot more, but I'm a lot less tired. Even though I do
yeah.
way more.
You know, I don't work. And I'm a true believer that so when people I literally and people be looking at me like, huh? Oh, I was talking to one of my cousins and he was we was having a deep conversation and what we
Mm,
gotta start understanding is money, right? Money
mm.
is a tool.
Okay,
Money
come
is
on.
a tool to get you the things that you need to have you take care of the business you need to take care. It's just a tool. Just like a hammer, you need a hammer to nail in the wood. So money you need to make sure that you can live a life that you want to live. So it's a tool. And not I literally without thinking twice, without you know what I'm saying, having any regret, I walked away from a six-figure job in June and I walked
Yeah.
into my purpose. Because I'm a true believer, if God gives you the vision, He'll also set up the provision for
Come
you, and that's what He done
on.
did.
Now you
That's what He
preaching.
done did, and now I'm operating in my gift and serving my purpose as the dean of culture and behavior at St. Marcus in a partnership with my organization, bros.
Uh-huh. Boy, you an entrepreneur too. Cause that's a business move. That the way you just said that, uh-huh. Uh-huh. I see why you came highly recommended for the podcast. Without hesitation. Brittany said it, Serena immediately co-signed it. Immediately. Okay. Okay. So proceed.
So, and what was the question? You said, how did my previous life tied into bros and why
Yeah,
I'm at the
how
same
does
earth?
it well, your purpose, how does your purpose tie in since
So I think
you've
my
done that beautiful repackaging?
yeah, so my purpose honestly is to actually serve. Though that's what I do. I serve. So I'm here to serve the young man. And I think everything that I've been through and the reason why I created bros is because I was a bro. I was the first ever bro. So when I get
Yeah,
into the space with some of these young men and my title was culture and behavior, at the end of the day, I just need them to understand how great they are, how much power they possess, especially our young men. They're so powerful, but yet they don't understand how much power that they carry. They don't understand how powerful their voice is. So when you're in the classroom and you're doing different things and you're getting a reaction out of 30 other young individuals, it's because you carry that much power.
yeah,
And so I just need for you to take that power and use it for the good of the classroom because you're a leader. And if I
yeah.
can get you to lead them in a positive way, everybody else will fall into place. So I'm intentional about going to young men in these classrooms, pouring into them, encourage them, just letting them know how much of a boss and a young king that they are. Because when they start identifying that, they walk a little different, they talk a little different, and that's why I wanted to partner bros with them because bros carry an expectation. If you a bro, oh, you got a high expectation. That means you walk up right. You got responsibilities. You carry yourself a certain kind of way. You pick your head up when you talk to somebody because ain't nothing on the floor for you. You square your shoulders up. You got your pants and your belt on. I don't care if the pants do fit. The belt just look good. It looks
Come
good
on, polished.
as a uniform. So at the end of the day, I make them understand how much of a statement they'll make just by their print. So I pour into them everything that somebody never poured into me, and I had to
Huh?
figure it out for myself. So I take
Yeah.
this role personal because it gives me the opportunity every single day to let one of these young men know just how great they are.
That's so good. And I had the privilege of visiting y'all school. And as I took time and I looked around, I was like, I love this. I think I was walking back from the bathroom and I saw a scripture and I was like, yes, I am. And then I started
Yeah,
paying attention to more of everything that was up on the walls and the intentionality. And I said to Serena, I said, I just wonder if I were a kid growing up, schooling in this environment, being affirmed in this way, how different would I be, or how much deeper into my purpose would I have been, like, in sooner? But obviously, it wasn't for me at that time. But I'm just like thinking about what this is doing, how this is truly shaping the identity of these kids. And even if they do go away from it, they'll come back. The
yes, one of
foundation is
my favorite
set.
scriptures.
Yes,
First, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they get old, they will not depart from it. That's one of the solid scriptures that I live by.
telling you, cause baby, I departed and I ain't never leaving. I mean, I was gone, I strayed away, but I ain't never leaving.
Yeah.
Never. Oh, wow.
And the beauty of it, like you saying, is I didn't have that coming up. It was actually like somewhat banned to be actually talking about God and praying in school,
It
even at work. Like
was.
when I was with the trash company, everybody knew my role because at that point I was a full-fledged minister, but I didn't just walk around with a cross and the Bible. They just seen it in my personality. Like it was some
That's how it
lady
was
walked
supposed
up
to
to me
be.
and said, they said, "You a pastor, ain't you?" I'm like, "No, I ain't no pastor." She said, "You're an elder or something." I'm like, "Well, why you say that?" It's just she said, "I just see it all over you." And I'm just like, "Well, whatever you seeing, to God be the glory." I said, "But I don't wear a cross. I don't carry a big old Bible, like wear a suit, all this type of stuff." It's just she's like, "It's just all over you."
That's how it's supposed to be. It's the light. It's shining. Like my minister was saying, him and his wife, they went on a cruise. They were, I don't know, they take so many cruises, I can't keep up. That's what they love to do. But they were like in Dominican Republic, somewhere in Mexico. And somebody was came up to him like, "Are you a pastor?" And he was like,
Yeah,
Actually, yes." Like a minister. People can tell. No, my sister is the funniest. She's like, she can look at a person and be like, "He was a church boy. He a church boy." And like, it's funny. Like, she was like, "You just know him when you see him." Like, it's
yeah.
so funny. But I was like, "Okay, sis, you onto something." Like, 'cause she was
Yeah,
spot on, yeah. But, like, people can tell. People can really tell, and that, like you said, glory to God, absolutely, because that's the idea. It's not about being like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and you just looking like it or whatever and doing all
yeah,
the things for show. Like, it's really and truly about the character, the light, and just letting yourself be used because 'cause we're a vessel. And
absolutely. And I think
you're pouring in with God, and so that overflow, they getting it.
mhm, you're getting it here and then it goes this way.
Yeah,
So it's like and I think the biggest thing is the ability to actually be able to pray a covering over my youth every morning in assembly. That right there was a game changer to me.
that hits
I could pull
different.
all of them in a room, get their attention, and pray a covering over their lives every single day.
Man, I'm just like, I feel the Holy Spirit and I'm like, I see in color. Like I said, I see movies, I see picture, I see video, like in my mind. So I'm seeing kids in an auditorium. I don't even know what your auditorium look like, but in my mind, it's great. Um, and just what that would feel like to be a kid in that space, that kid that's going through something, their home life is unstable. They are unsafe. Needs are not being met. It just so many things. And to have someone every day telling them, you are somebody. This is how you carry yourself. This is what God says about you. Those things, they're day to day. And God is on the throne, giving them a foundation. And this is also really speaking to me because I worked in a mental health clinic where we specifically served adolescents. And I didn't like make hash marks, document the data. I don't work there anymore. I could probably go back and like count from who I remember. But I would say an 80 to 90% of those kids that were in that program over the almost 2 years that I worked there, well, I'll back up and describe the thing. So they're dealing with anxiety, depression, self-harm. Some have been hospitalized, gone to residential care, have had non-fatal suicidal behaviors, like significant impacts on
Yeah,
them. 80 to 90% of them, I would say, they either did not believe in anything, were questioning, or some aspect of their identity that they were questioning made them feel like they didn't fit in with the whatever the belief system was that like the religion or regardless of or spiritual practice.
yes.
And I knew there's something to it. I said, because you're not anchored in anything. And I
Mhm.
wasn't where I am now in my work, and I don't think that's by mistake that God allowed me to see that, and then gives me a faith-based business where I provide mental health
Yeah.
services.
Anything without an anchor is gonna drift.
Come on, the simplicity of it, like,
Yeah,
it's so simple, and we think that things have to be so deep, and the world tries to tell us that it's not that simple, and it is. It
it
really
is.
and truly is. I am really enjoying this.
No, I'm having a good time. I'm
Yes.
it's just and this is
Yes.
honestly, this is another therapy session to me. Whenever I do these interviews, I get the therapy that I never had, and because it's like constantly getting it out, and then being there, it just feel like a release when you get
Yeah.
done with it because you done
Yeah.
got it out once again. And I'm gonna
Absolutely.
tell you a secret. Since I wrote my book, I still haven't finished reading it yet.
I can believe that. You had to get it out.
Yeah, I got it out, but I tried it on the airplane several different times. I travel all the time, and I'm only halfway through my own book, and it's a short read because it's gonna be a series.
But you
Tip, I
lived
guess
it.
you probably gonna ask me that.
I said, "What was that?"
the So people, what they don't know, well, when you read it, when you get to the end of it, it's a statement that says something that lets you know that this ain't the end.
This ain't it.
So it's another one coming.
Okay, okay, that's good, but you didn't like, it's not ruined because
Nah.
there's still you know what I mean? But what I like, I think that's a lot to try to read it all, you lived it, you have it in this condensed version. There's
Yeah,
so much more, but that's what you were able to get out at that time, like, that's probably like an outline now when you think as things are coming back to you, and the therapist in me is like, "Well, read as much as you can and then reflect on it and write," because then you're
yeah.
journaling, your reflection on what you've already written is giving more depth to the story, and it
No,
gives you healing
absolutely.
because when we write, you can process it up to 10 times through writing. That's why journaling is so dope. And I had the realization more recently, and I was like, because I was watching, have you watched The Chosen?
Yep.
Okay. So you remember Matthew, they be showing him writing the most, right?
Yeah.
In the show, right? And so I was thinking about it and I was like, and this is so simple. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, like these people are the authors. And I was like, these were basically journals that the apostles were keeping. And that became the Bible.
The Bible.
It's
Yeah.
that simple, like, but it speaks to the power of writing. It speaks to the longevity. It speaks to having things left behind for others to consume, to learn
Mhm.
how to live, like all of these wonderful things. And I just recorded an episode before you where he said, I believe every single person has at least one book in them.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
The way that all this lined up, so I was like, "So, are you gonna come back for another episode so we can break this down so we can get the people to create and pour out the things
Right.
that God has in them?" Like, do you have this in a format so that we can get this to the masses so that the people can do their
Yeah.
one book? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think we overthink these things.
No, we do. We do, because I overthought it for a long time.
Well, and you said you was running from it. You was ducking it.
Oh, yeah, no, I was running for it, and I think it says it on there. I wanna say it's my back math or something like that, where it says that, you can't just continue to run from yourself because once you get there, you gonna be there. And now all of y'all there together because where you going? You can't run from yourself. It's
That's
not gonna
it.
work.
And I say that's stuff that we don't unpack. So, like, you know, on the back of cars, but in movies and stuff, and back in the day, people would get married, they put like the cans on the back. So
Mhm.
it starts with a couple of cans, depending on what you got going on. Or like in your case, like the loss of parents, that's a whole trailer hitch.
Yeah.
Then you add another, then you add another, plus
Yeah.
everything else that's going on. And that gets heavy. Like you gotta
Mhm.
have a different type of engine after a while to carry all of that stuff. That's why a lot of us are so tired because we're carrying things that need to be surrendered and that we need to really trust God, right? So, with that in mind, how do you model that when you're working with youth about men, like, you know, getting through hardship and then trusting God? How do you help them?
So I'm it's good you asked me that because I was just gonna tell you when you said that statement, I was gonna tell you what I normally do and how my life and knowing that how God tells you to cast all your cares on him because he cares for you. So
Yeah.
I read that scripture to them and let them know that you're carrying a lot of this stuff that you necessarily don't have to carry. So what I do in my room when I'm talking to these young men, I'm mentoring them. I have the round table and I have a couple chairs. So I have them, I said, bring me that chair right there. Then I have them bring me another chair. I have them bring me about 5 chairs. And then I tell them, carry all of them back over there. And they can't. Yeah, I can't, Mr. Boyd, it's too heavy. I said, yes, because you just stacked up every one of these cheers together instead of letting it sit where it's supposed to be. Because some of this stuff ain't even yours. You only can sit in one chair at a time. Why do you have 5 of them? So why are you going to try to carry this entire stack? So what I want you to do right now is to unload and put them back where they go. Stop carrying everybody else's stuff. You don't need to sit in all 5 of these chairs. You only need one.
Come on. Yes. That's so good, and people, they get that. When you can
Yeah.
either paint a picture or take them through a physical,
Yep.
it unlocks it. That's so good. Unload it.
Yeah, unload
Bars.
it.
Yes. So what have you seen happen? Like, how do they respond to that?
So the last young man I was talking to, and he was dealing with some personal stuff, and I did it, and I so I'm transparent. So at the end of the day, I believe in when you build trust with somebody, they gotta trust you. So a lot of times, trust comes from being transparent or being vulnerable with somebody. That's how
A
you
little
build the trust.
self-disclosure. Yeah.
So I shared some stuff about it with me, and when me and this young man got done talking, his question to me was, "Can I give you a hug?" So I gave the young
So,
man a
was
hug.
he wanting to hug you or was he wanting to be hugged?
I think it was to the point where he wanted to be hugged because he laid so deep into my chest,
Okay.
like he was longing for something, and he asked me,
Yeah.
"Can he hug me?" And I hugged him, and he just laid into my chest.
So real quick, the therapist in me hears it. He said, "Can I hug you?" This is him not even expressing his need, when really, "Can I have a hug?"
Yeah,
And him not even knowing the difference, but either way, you were a safe space for him.
yeah,
He needed that because I heard the language.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah. You are healing generations of young men.
That's the
You really
prayer.
are.
That's the
It's alright, it's happening. It's not
yeah.
that's the prayer. You gotta embrace that part too, like, that's what's happening, and I understand, like, there's a certain level of humility, but, like, I'm just a vessel, and this is what's happening, and Milwaukee needs it.
No, it does. It
It
does. Like
needs
I,
it.
I have a young man. I had a young man the other day, and I don't know what sent them off, but he walked from his desk to the door, but in the midst of it, flipped about three desks and threw two chairs. And he came out the door, and I said, "You want to finish the conversation?" And he's like, "I don't got nothing to say." I said, "You have a whole lot to say." I said, "You just said it walking out the classroom, but you did it through your action." I said, "Now let's turn it into our words."
Come
I
on.
said, "If you're feeling upset, that's okay. If you're mad, that's okay, but let's talk about it." Because you was just doing a lot of talking as you was walking. That was talking to me. It was communication, but you wasn't using words. So you was communicating, but you wasn't using your words. Now let's use our words and see how we can figure out what caused you to get that upset.
So good. How did he respond to that? I'm curious. So again, I'm seeing this whole thing
At
play out in
first,
my mind.
he was a brick wall, and he just said, "It's because of this." Because I told him at first he had nothing to say. I said, "You do have some." You just said a lot. You just said a
No
whole
one's
lot
probably
coming out
ever
that road.
asked him why.
Yep. And I said, "What is bothering you?" I said, "Are you upset?" I said, "Are you mad?" I said, "If you are, that's fine. Those are totally good. Those are totally okay emotions to have. Now let's talk about what we can do to actually heal."
Yeah, this is what I mean. You're teaching him there's another ways because this is that behavior. The school to prison pipeline is real because you
Yes.
can't go out into the world and do that. You're already the way society is set up based on your
Yep.
gender and your race, and then depending on his build and complexion, there's so many layers to that.
Yes.
How much of a threat is he seen as? But regardless of that, him flipping all of those things, and if that's not caught and checked and corrected,
Hmm.
another
It
one.
just escalates and it gets worse.
Yep. And the number of people he could hurt. Well, really, he's
Yes.
just hurting on the inside, empty.
Yep.
Needed a
And
hug.
he expressing himself. He's expressing himself.
Wow. Wow. Listen, keep letting the Lord use you. I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
you one question before I wrap you up with the signature question, because clearly we can keep going.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have been
absolutely.
given the gift of gab, and I'm
Oh,
glad I'm being able to use it in a way.
and I think I have too. My wife and my like everywhere we go, you always know somebody. You always know somebody. This and that. I'm like, sometimes I don't even remember where I know them from, but we have an amazing conversation. It's like
Yeah,
that. Time to go. It's time to go.
and to connect with people. For
Yes.
sure. So you've spoken a little bit about like kind of seeing what God has done, but I want to ask, since publishing, where are you, God? Trust the process. How have you seen God show up in unexpected ways?
Well, the biggest thing recently is where I'm at in my life. I was asked so many times if you can just paint a picture of your day to day life, what would it look like? And I used to always tell them I would get up, pray, um, probably go work out, put on something fancy, whether I want to put on a suit, whether I want to put on a jogging suit, wherever they may be, I'll put it on. And then I go out and I walk into my purpose. And I go and I set a meeting up, or either I'll go deal with the youth. And a lot of people who had these prayers and these ambitions and all these different things, and they constantly waiting on it to happen. And then, like that, you walking in it.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now. At St. Marcus right now, I'm doing everything that I always told people my day to day life will look like. And I'm literally in the midst of it right now.
Yeah. The power of our words. God spoke it and it was. We're made in his image. We have that same authority. That's so good. If you could leave the audience with one powerful truth to help them rise and thrive, what would it be?
Probably the biggest thing I would say is it's okay to not be okay. And a lot of us is walking around right now and people ask us how we're doing and we tell them, I'm good, I'm okay. But we got to realize it's okay to not be okay, and you can never start to heal what you don't feel. And if you don't feel it, then how can you heal it? Because you ain't even identified it. So what are you healing? But you got to be okay with that, and you got to speak those things, and you got to speak to it, because now you can start to operate on how you move forward. But until you identify that it's something wrong and it's something that's not right, you'll never start to go into trying to fix it or heal it.
That's it. That's so good. Well, RBJ, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you came highly recommended. And I'm just so grateful for the time that we had here, learning more about your story. And I know that it'll inspire others and keep doing the Lord's work. Keep operating in purpose. He'll bless you and he'll continue to open the doors. And like you said, you've essentially retired because you're not working anymore.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, audience. Well, this is where we shift to you. One, I want you to reflect. Where in your life have you asked, God, where are you? And I want you to write down and acknowledge the process He may be leading you through. And then I want you to take action. Choose one truth from this episode to apply this week, whether it's practicing patience, offering grace, mentoring a young person in your community. And finally, I want to affirm you. I trust God's process for my life, e- even in the unknown. I am guided, I am strengthened, and I will rise and thrive. Well, thank you all for joining in for another episode of Rise and Thrive with Dr. Jane Nicole. Make sure you check us out next week. We do this every Tuesday, and the merch is available. If you go to www.evolvewithdrjanenicole.com, you can find it there. RBJ, how can the people reach you, or how can they follow you, keep up to date in what you got going on? Where are you?
I'm on social media, so Facebook, Robert Boyd, of course. Instagram is elder_Boyd Jr. Also, you can follow my family's page. We do a lot of encouraging stuff. A Tribe Called Boyd. A Tribe Called Boyd, that's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, that's on YouTube, and that's on TikTok.
Okay, so I got a lot more following to do right after this. And they can catch a documentary on YouTube too, correct?
At A Tribe Called Boyd.
Awesome. So you all can consume this goodness, all this greatness, that's this light that Brother Boyd is offering, or Elder Boyd is offering through his book And I'll make sure everything is so just check the description down below. It's there. So there's a book, there's a documentary, there's social media content. Thank you again for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure being here and hearing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.